Okay, everybody, so this is my Stihl Formix blower collection. Every blower that you see here I got for free. We're going to start from the first one that I got, which is the only good one that actually runs, is this one back here. Everything is original on it other than the recoil, because the recoil on that came from one of these other units and the frame came off of another unit. But the tube is original. We had to resplice the throttle cable a little bit, or the kill switch wires, to make it work, and I've also done the most work to this one. Now, the frame on that one came off of this one right here, and the recoil on that one came off of this one right here. That's why it doesn't have one. That one used to be on there, and then that recoil on this one actually originally came off of that one. So these two BR600s right here I just got recently from my local small engine repair shop, and this one I just got today. The engine I've had for a few days now, since last week. So let's see. This one right here won't get fixed and will be strictly used for parts because it does have a bad engine. The engine pulls over rough and it sounds noisy. This one doesn't have a bad engine because it actually pulls over fairly quiet and has compression. It has spark, and I know it has compression. The valves definitely need to be adjusted, but it will definitely need some work, but the engine's not toast on it. So these two I got recently. Like I said, this is the second BR600 that I've gotten. This one will run, but I've taken I took the primer bulb and fuel lines off of it. It still has the aftermarket carburetor that I put on it when I first got it. All the parts you see on this right now are actually the original parts. I didn't swap anything from this, I just took parts off of it. Now, this one right here has two engine oil leaks. It has a leak inside of the engine pan, and it has an oil leak in the cam gear cover. So it will need some fixing, but I believe it will still work good because it will run, but after warming up it does start to run very poorly, and I think it's because of the vacuum leaks that the oil leaks are causing. But out of all of these, this one is in the bestest of shape when it was clean. I mean, it's not now. But this one I'll definitely, at some point, someday, will more than likely fix. I just hope that resealing both engine parts, or, will actually fix the running issue. Will this one ever run? I have no idea. I mean, I tried to start it last night after working on it, and it definitely is hard to pull over, but it's not impossible. So I just think the valves definitely need to be adjusted, but I don't think the engine's toast. But it definitely will need some work. Now I have the biggest unit, a BR800. Now, first off, I have a complete engine to go on here, and it should be good. The camshaft and compression release inside of this engine is working. The muffler isn't leaking either, which is great. The engine pan or the cam gear cover, nothing's leaking. The block isn't cracked at the top. This engine should be good to go if I were to put it on this. Air filter cover too. The only things that this thing are missing are the kill switch wire down here on the bottom has been spliced off for some reason. I have no idea why. And the fuel lines do have to be redone because they are mostly missing. But everything else should be good. This one right here, I think has a engine, well, it's actually really rusty, because if I look in through the exhaust port, one of the valves is really rusty. So of course it was sitting outside because it was their part stock, or scrap stock more like. So if I were to put this engine on this one and put a cover and recoil on it, it should start and run, hopefully. Another thing I was going to say is this one will also need an entire new tube assembly because, well, it's pretty self-explanatory. It will need a throttle assembly as well, and the kill switch wires and throttle cable do not look good either. Throttle cable's destroyed, and I don't know about the kill wires, but I guess they look decent. But if I can just get another parts unit that has a good tube assembly, I'll just throw everything in and be done with it. The frame itself isn't in terrible condition. It's a little sad, but it's intact, and that's what matters. And again, the most important part is the fact that we have a good engine to put on here, because like I said, everything on this should be a relatively good engine, and it should be perfectly fine to put on here. It doesn't look like it's too hard to do either, which is good. So hopefully I will do a BR800 revival one day, because getting this running and working would be awesome. Now, we have my only running unit out of these 5. Let's talk about that one for a second. This was the first BR600 that I ever got. Yes, I got it for free as well. I did the most work to it, spent the most money, blah, blah, blah. So, The frame on this one came off of that one right there, because I honestly really like the frames that have the rubber skid plates on the bottom. I think they look really cool, and well, they're just better. I put a 100, I mean, basically every part that's on this is OEM, except for the fuel filters and air filter. $110 OEM carburetor, OEM power bulb, aftermarket fuel lines. The muffler is off of a different unit. This muffler is in a little bit better shape than the previous one was. The tube and everything is in pretty good shape. The cable's pretty decent. But like I said, this is the only exception for where the cable's bad. Now, it also doesn't run perfect. An issue that I can name with this is that I can start it and run when it's cold, but usually when it's warm, it's a lot harder to start, and you might be thinking it's a valve adjustment issue. I think the compression release in this engine is no longer working, because if I were to start it cold, warm, or whatever, it is always hard to pull. And I have checked the valve lash on this engine 3 separate times over the course of a number of months, and it never seems to be the issue, because the valve lash is always where I want it to be. I will check the valve lash one more time when I get another one of those little shims, because I unfortunately lost the one I used. And hopefully see if that points to any, I doubt it, but like I said, I just don't think the compression release is working, and I think the engine is a little bit worn down as well. This engine is from 2016, and I thought, okay, is the compression release not working? Or is the bearings inside of this just starting to seize up? I don't know, because when I pull over this engine, it sounds quiet and it doesn't sound like it's got any interference. But I don't know. I have no idea what's wrong with it. But I know it's not perfect. I definitely know it's not right. But it does run, and when it's running, it runs good. It just has a starting issue. I have never been able to figure it out after owning this thing for a year and a month, basically, because I got this November of 23. I have not been able to figure it out, but I turned it into a pretty damn nice looking unit. And, so yeah, there you go. I don't entirely know what I'm going to do. I mean, I'm going to keep running it. I mean, chances are if anything happens to this, the engine will probably seize up, because I feel like it could be, but then again, it could just be the compression release. I don't know. So yeah, just keep running it till it dies. This one right here is definitely the scariest cosmetically, other than this one. I mean, it doesn't have covers to show, but it doesn't look terrible. Let's see. I do not see a sticker on it anywhere indicating a manufacture date, unfortunately. About this one, I'm not sure, but I did try to take the muffler off and I could not get it off, and the engine was a bit rusty through the spark plug hole, so I need to clean it out and do something. But something just, this machine is saying to me, I'm not dead, I'm not dead. So this one might get running again someday. I don't really know yet. And another thing is, I'll be right back. Hang on a second. Another quick thing that I did want to mention, I just ran to go get the frame that originally came off of this 600. Like I said, I'm not exaggerating when I said this one is definitely the worst looking out of all of these. This is the original frame that came off of this. This is actually from 2018. The frame is broken at the top, and it did have one of those black rubber skid plates on the bottom. It was broken in several places. So when I picked these two BR600s up, I actually got an extra frame that had a skid plate on the bottom that was in way better shape. So I just slapped it on that one, and it already looks better. The tube, don't ask. The tube on this one looks pretty good. It has the nicer throttle control on it. The only problem is that, again, it's broken, unfortunately. But, I mean, the tube doesn't look bad. This, of course, it's the nicest. This was actually used by a homeowner, and it's a 2011, so it is 13 years old. And this actually wasn't a Magnum. I wrote Magnum on there because I put the 2 fuel line setup inside of it, but then I took it back out. So I don't entirely know why, but this one only has 1 fuel filter inside of it. I thought all Magnums should have 2, so I'll configure it to have 2. Since the thing came out of the tank and is sitting like that, I will have to clean it out, but that shouldn't be a problem. Hopefully that will go back in with no issues. Like I said, hopefully I can get the engine reattached on this, get a second parts unit that hopefully has a good shroud, recoil, and tube assembly, and then we should have a running BR800, which would be awesome. again, I will keep using this BR600 as the years go by. And this one, again, might get saved. This one definitely will not, unless I buy a new engine for it. Again, highly unlikely considering I have so much. And this one, again, it's not a high priority right now, but if I ever get the chance, I will try to do an engine pan reseal on this. I have never done it. I mean, I've seen videos and I'm a little skeptical on how to do it, but like I said, I might try someday. I don't know yet. And one thing that I was going to say about the 600 that possibly doesn't have the bad engine, I don't know why, but like down here in the engine pan, I don't know if you can see it because of the lighting, but it doesn't look like there's oil on the bottom of the engine pan. It more so looks like it was like mud or something. It wasn't caked in oil, it was caked in mud or something more like. So I don't know if this one was in a flood. There might be a chance. But like I said, the engine's not toast. I really don't think it is. So like I said, we shall see what happens to this one. I want to prioritize the 800 more than anything because that would be the coolest to get running. But yeah, there you go. That's the Formix steel blower collection that I have. It's a lot.